there. It's old, but we love it. It's our home.
And you wish to enter your brother here at the hospital. What's your brother's name?
It's
Mrs. Simmons, what's your brother's name?
I'm sorry. Life is not easy for any of us. I'll have to hold my head up and go on just the same. That's what I keep telling Myrtle, and that's what Myrtle May keeps telling me. Oh, she's heartbroken over her Uncle Elwood. Elwood P. Dowd, that's it.
Elwood P. Dowd. His age?
47, the 24th of last April. He's a Taurus the bull. I'm Leo, and Myrtle is on the cusp.
Okay, 47. Is he married?
No, Elwood never married. He stayed with Mother. He was always a good homeboy. He loved his home.
And you have him with you today?
He's in a taxi cab down in the driveway. I gave the driver a 20 to watch him, but I didn't say why. You can't tell these things to perfect strangers.
Mr. Wilson, would you be kind enough to step down to the taxi in the driveway and ask him, Mr. Dowd, if he would be so kind to be escorted out to room 24 South Wing G, please?
Ask him.
This is his sister, Mrs. Simmons.
Why, certainly. Yeah, be glad to escort.
Thank you.
All right, the rates here, Mrs. Simmons. You'll find them printed on this card.
That will all be taken care of by my mother's estate, the late Marcella Penny Dowd. Miss Gaffney is our attorney.
Okay, and I'll go see if Dr. Sanderson can see you now.
Dr. Sanderson? Oh, no. I want to see Dr. Chumley himself.
Oh, no, Mrs. Simmons. Dr. Sanderson is the one who sees everybody. Dr. Chumley sees no one.
Oh, he's still head of this institution, isn't he? Oh, he's still a psychiatrist, isn't he?
Still a psychiatrist? He's more than that. He's a psychiatrist with national reputation. When people have a mental breakdown, they at once think of Dr. Chumley.
That's his office, isn't it? Well, you march right in there and tell him I want to see him. If he knows who's out here, he'll come in here.
I wouldn't dare do that, Mrs. Simmons. I'd be discharged if I did.
Well, I don't like to be pushed off onto any second fiddle.
Dr. Sanderson is nobody's second fiddle. I mean, he's young, of course, and he hasn't been out of medical school very long, but Dr. Chumley tried out 12 doctors and kept Dr. Sanderson. He's really wonderful. To the patients.
Very well, then. Tell him I'm here.
Right away.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Vita, isn't this wonderful?
Mrs. Simmons?
Oh. I didn't hear you come in. You startled me. You're Dr. Sanderson?
Yes, will you be seated, please?
Yes, thank you. I hope you don't think I'm jumpy like that all the time, but
Miss Kelly tells me you're concerned about your brother, Dowd. Is it Elwood P. Dowd?
Yes, Doctor. This isn't easy for me, Doctor.
Naturally, these things aren't easy for the families of the patients, I understand.
It's what Elwood's doing to himself, Doctor. That's the thing. Oh, Myrtle May has a right to nice friends. She's young and her whole life is before her. That's my daughter.
Your daughter. How long has it been since you began to notice any peculiarity in your brother's actions?
I noticed it right away when Mother died. Myrtle May and I came back home from Des Moines to live with Elwood. I could see that he
what? Take your time, Mrs. Simmons. I'll wait for it.
Doctor, everything I say to you is confidential, isn't it?
That's understood.
Because it's a slap in the face to everything we've stood for in this community. The way Elwood is acting now.
I'm not a gossip, Mrs. Simmons. I'm a psychiatrist.
Well, for one thing, he drinks.
To excess?
To excess? Well, don't you call it excess when a man can't go a day without stepping into one of those cheap taverns, sitting around with riffraff and people you've never heard of, inviting them to the house, playing cards with them, giving them food and money. And here I am trying to get Myrtle May May started with a nice group of young people. Oh, doctor, if that isn't excess, well, I'm sure I don't know what excess is.
I didn't doubt your statement, Miss Simmons. I merely asked if your brother drank.
Well, yes, I say definitely Elwood drinks. And I want him committed out here permanently. Because I cannot stand another day of that Harvey. Oh, Myrtle May and I have to set a place at the table for Harvey. We have to move over on the sofa and make room for Harvey. We have to answer the telephone if Elwood calls and asks to speak to Harvey. Oh, and then at the party this afternoon with Mrs. Chauvenet there. We didn't even know about Harvey until we came back here. Oh, doctor, don't you think it would have been a bit kinder of Mother to have written and told me about Harvey? Oh, be honest now, don't you?
I really couldn't answer that question.
Well, I could. Yes, it certainly would have.
This person you call Harvey, who is he?
He's a rabbit.
Perhaps. But just who is he? Some companion, someone your brother has picked up in these bars of whom you disapprove?
Doctor, I'm telling you, Harvey is a rabbit. A big white rabbit, 6 feet high. Or is it 6 feet and a half? Heavens, I ought to know. He's been around the house long enough.
Now, Mrs. Simmons, let me understand this. You say...
Doctor, do I have to keep repeating myself? My brother insists that his closest friend is this big white rabbit. This rabbit's name is Harvey. Harvey lives at our house. Don't you understand? He and Elwood go every place together. Elwood buys railroad tickets, theater tickets, for both of them. Oh, as I told Myrtle May, if your uncle was so lonesome he had to bring something home, why couldn't he bring home something human? He has me, doesn't he? He has Myrtle May, doesn't he? Doctor, I'm going to tell you something I've never told anyone before. Every now and then, I see that big white rabbit myself. Now, isn't that terrible? I've never even told that to Myrtle May.
Mrs. Simmons.
And what's more, he's every bit as big as Elwood says he is. Now, doctor, don't ever tell that to anybody. I'm ashamed of it.
I can see that you've been under a great nervous strain recently.
Yes, I have.
Grief over your mother's death depressed you considerably?
Nobody knows how much.
Been losing sleep?
How could anybody sleep with that going on?
Short-tempered over trifles?
You just try living with those two and see how your temper holds up.
Loss of appetite?
Nobody could eat at a table with my brother and a big white rabbit. Oh, well, I'm finished with it. I'll sell the house, be appointed conservator of Elwood's estate, and Myrtle May and I will be able to entertain our friends in peace. Oh, it's too much, doctor. I just can't stand it.
Of course, Mrs. Simmons, of course it is. You're tired.
Yes, yes, I am.
You've been worrying a great deal, Mrs. Simmons.
Yeah, I have. I can't help it.
But now I'm going to help you. Just sit there quietly, Mrs. Simmons. I'll be right back.
Oh, doctor, I'll just go down to the cab and get Elwood's things.
Why didn't someone answer the buzzer?
I didn't hear you, Doctor.
I rang and rang. Mrs. Simmons, sound the alarm, Wilson. That poor woman must not leave the grounds.
She may be able to get away, huh, Doc?
Her condition is serious, Wilson. Go after her.